is translating expressions, which this should be a review from 5th grade. Alright, so when we think about translating, my first thought is like foreign languages. We translate foreign languages from one language to another. That's essentially what we're doing with translating expressions in math. We are translating words to a math problem, or the reverse, a math problem to words. So when we are translating expressions, we have a few key words and phrases that represent our main operations in math. So for addition, some of our main words or key words and phrases would be sum, to add words together or add numbers together, more than, increased by, total, when something asks for the total of two things, we're adding them together, plus, obviously that means to add, and lastly, all together. So whenever you see any of these words, it means they want you to add numbers together. Subtraction, some keywords for subtraction are difference. When we find the difference between two numbers, we are subtracting them. Less than. If a number is less than another number, it means we're taking it away. Decrease by. Subtracted from. And minus. Right, so if you notice, these are essentially the opposites to what you see on the other side for addition. So more than would be addition, less than would be subtraction. Increase by addition, decrease by subtraction. Right, so these are some keywords that we will use when we are adding or subtracting. All right, now let's look at multiplying and dividing. All right, so some keywords for multiplication and division. So obviously we just had times. If we times two numbers together, it means we're multiplying. Product, because the product is the number that you get when you multiply two numbers together. Twice, that would mean 2 times a number. Double or triple. So if we're doubling it, we're multiplying it by 2. We're tripling it, we're multiplying it by 3. Of, remember the word of always means multiply, and then per. So these are some keywords for multiplication. For division, we have divided by. We have quotient, the answer to a division problem. Half or third, so that means we're dividing it by 2 or 3, and separate. Okay, so these are some keywords for multiplication and division. We do have some words that mean that we'll need to reverse the order of the number and the letter depending on what's asking. So phrases like less than and subtracted from mean that we need to reverse the order in which the numbers are given to us. So let's look at a few examples. We're going to look at 1, 2, and 3. So 1, it says 18 less than a number. So this is an example we're going to have to switch the order. So even though 18 comes first, because it's less than the number, I'm going to start with my number, which we don't know, so I'm just going to use the letter n. 18 less than means I'm taking away 18. So my expression would be n minus 18. For number 2, it says the product of a number and 6. So remember, product is the answer to a multiplication problem, so I'm going to be multiplying. I don't know what the number is, so I'm just going to write n times 6. Or you could also just say 6n. Either way, you're multiplying the two together. The order does not matter because of the commutative property. All right, and then number 3, we have triple a number. That means we're multiplying a number by 3. We don't know what the number is, so I'm just going to use the letter n to represent that. All right, now let's look at the back of your page and look at a few more examples. So let's look at 11, 12, 15, and 16. All right, so 11 says half a number. Well, half means that we are dividing a number by 2. So there are a couple different ways you can write this. We can either say 1/2 times n, because that would be half a number, or we can also just say n over 2. Either way is correct. Number 12 says twice a number plus 4. So we have two operations happening here. Twice, which means we're multiplying, and plus. So twice means we're multiplying a number by 2, so that will be 2n, and then plus 4 means I'm adding 4. So my operation, or my expression, would be 2n plus 4. For number 15, it says the sum of the square root of a number and 3, right? So again, we have two operations here. We're going to be adding, but we're also going to be, wrong one. We're going to be adding, but we're also going to be taking the square root of a number. So I don't know what that number is, but I know I'm taking the square root of it, so I'm going to write my radical symbol. And then a sum means I'm adding 3, so square root of n plus 3. And then lastly, looking at 16, it says the difference of, so we'll be subtracting 6 times a number and 5. So 6 times a number goes together, and then we're going to be finding the difference of that and 5. So 6 times a number would just be 6 times n, or 6n. And the difference means that we're subtracting, so I'm going to take away 5. Now this is not a word where we have to change the order, so we're going to write 6n first and then take away 5. All right, now we're going to go backwards, which just means that we're going to look at the given expression and then we're going to write the phrase that matches it. So let's look at 18, 22, and 23. Just a few different examples. So 18, we have -2 divided by n. All you have to do is read the expression and you can write that into words. So you could say -2 divided by a number. We don't know what that number is, so we're just going to say a number. Or you could also say the quotient of -2 in a number. And I'm going to use the pound symbol for number. Right, either of these are correct. So our answers may vary when we are translating expressions or writing the words for a given expression. All right, number 22, we have -4 times a number plus 13, right? So all you have to do is say -4 times a number plus 13. And again, you can have other ways of writing this. You could say -4 times a number increased by 13, right? You could say the total of -4 times a number and 13. -4 times a number increased by 13, I think I already said that one, right? But we see that there's other ways that we can write this. All right, number 23, we have half a number minus 10. So you could say half a number minus 10. You could say 10 less than 1/2 a number. You could say 10 subtracted from a number divided by 2, right? There's always a few different ways that we can write these expressions. All right, now let's turn to evaluating expressions. So now that we know how to translate them, we want to evaluate them. All right, says what is an algebraic expression? So an expression, it contains one or more variables. And it does not contain an equal sign. Right, so that's the difference between an expression and an equation. An expression, it just contains one or more variables and does not contain an equal sign. So we can simplify expressions and we can evaluate expressions, but we cannot solve expressions. So to evaluate, it just means that we have to substitute the variables with their given values, and then we follow order of operations. Which for now, we are still using gemmed up. Subtraction is still gone. All right, so let's take a look at 1, and then we'll do 3 and 4. So we have 7x minus 2y if x equals 4 and y equals 3. So all I have to do is sub in 4 for x and 3 for y. Right, so we just have multiplication and subtraction, which I'm going to change that to a plus negative so that I only have addition. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So now I have 28 plus negative 6, which equals 22. And I'm done. Pretty simple. All right, let's look at 3 and 4. So 3 says negative 8 in parentheses minus b plus 6c. So I have negative 8 minus b is negative 5. So I'm going to put that in parentheses just to clarify. Plus 6 times c, which is 2. All right, I need to do my grouping first, but before that, I need to change that to negative 8 plus positive 5. So negative 8 plus positive 5 would be negative 3. Now I have plus, and I can go ahead and do my multiplication. So 6 times 2 is 12. So now I have negative 3 plus 12, which just equals positive 9. All right, let's take a look at 4. We have negative m, so I'm going to put a negative in front of whatever m is, which is 6, squared minus 2 times m, which again is 6. So I'm going to first quickly change that to a plus negative. All right, so I need to do my exponents first. Negative 6 times negative 6 is 36, plus negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. So all I have left is 36 plus negative 12, which is positive 24. And we're done. All right, let's flip to the back page and look at a few more that are a little bit more intensive than those. So let's start with number 10. We have a fraction for this one. So we have 4 times x times y all over 2 times x. So we have 4, x is 3, y is negative 9, all over 2 times 3. All right, so remember that fractions always represent division, but our numerator and denominator are separate groupings. So we need to solve those first, and then our last step will be simplifying the fraction. So this is going to equal 4 times 3 is 12 times negative 9 all over 6. Right, and then I'm going to solve 12 times negative 9, which is negative 108 all over 6. So now that I have my numerator simplified and my denominator simplified, I just need to divide. And negative 108 divided by positive 6 is negative 18. So I'm done with that one. All right, let's take a look at 11. So we have negative 5 times a, which is positive 2, plus 2, times a times b, so that's 2 times negative 1, minus c, which is negative 5. I'm going to put that in parentheses. All right, so we have to do our grouping first. I'm going to just go ahead and rewrite all of this here. Plus 2. All right, so 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then we have minus negative 5, which is going to become plus positive 5. To finish this grouping, negative 2 plus positive 5 is positive 3. I'm going to keep it in parentheses just because we have that 2 right outside of it. I'm going to go ahead and also multiply negative 5 times 2 here, which is negative 10. So we have negative 10 plus 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3 is just 6. Negative 10 plus 6 equals negative 4. All right. All right, let's just look at 13, and then we will be done with this page. So 13 is another fraction. We have 8 times x squared, which is 2 squared, times y, which is negative 3. Remember, when everything is just lined up next to each other, it just means we need to multiply. All over 4 times 2. So again, we have to solve our numerator and then solve our denominator. They're separate groupings. So up here, I need to do my exponent first. So this is going to be 8 times 4 times go ahead and multiply my denominator. So 4 times 2 is 8. All right, so there are two different ways that you can do this. You can go ahead and multiply everything across on the top. You can say 8 times 4 is 32, 32 times negative 3 is negative 96. Or to make your life a little bit easier, we can go ahead and simplify our 8 here. So if we're going to multiply all of this by 8 and then just divide it by 8, we're really only left with the 4 times negative 3. I'm going to cross out my 8s and say that's just 1, because 8 divided by 8 is 1. Now all I have left is 4 times negative 3, which equals negative 12. And that is your final answer for number 13. Okay, you guys do not have to go back and do all of the other problems that we did not do. Just make sure that you have the ones that I did filled out, and that is it for your notes.